Hello and welcome to round 4 of the 2014 rather, Wisconsin Regional Championship. My name is Kenny Wisdom, and I'm here with David Regenberger.
Hello.
And this round we're going to see Sean Foisy on your left versus Dustin Zimmerman on your right. And I know that Dustin is playing a Virizion Genesect deck with Raichu, and it looks like Sean is playing a Plasma deck. I seen Absol and the Deoxys. He's probably playing the Chase Maloney Trevor Reed version, but it could be anything at this point. And we see Dustin Ultra Ball away that Raichu. Dustin's Raichu is mainly there for Evoltal EX. It's weak. Evoltal EX is weak to lightning, and if you have 5 Pokemon on your bench for a DCE, Raichu will do 200 damage after weakness, or if you can also knock it out with 4 Pokemon on your bench and a Muscle Band. So just kind of a hedge versus that deck. That deck's really big. We just saw Kyle Sukovich win a match with it. So it's been pretty big recently, but against this sort of deck, Dustin doesn't really need it. And Dustin actually gets the optimal turn 1 essentially for a Virizion deck. I don't know what's in his hand, but getting Virizion on board in the active position with an energy on it on turn 1 is exactly where you want to be. And we actually had a discussion in the hotel room. I'm not sure if you were privy to this, but the other day, or last night, David, about how Virizion Genesect is very powerful, but if you don't get what you're looking for, it can be very, very difficult. And mostly what you're looking for is that turn 1 Virizion, especially going first. Going second can be a huge detriment to this deck.
That's actually one of the reasons why I'm not the biggest fan of Virizion Genesect decks in general. They seem much too fragile for me in a format that tends to really rely on consistency. And if you don't get that consistent start, that perfect start, it can sometimes spell doom.
Definitely. And luckily, I think in its kind of defense there, what you need isn't all that much. You do stumble. Yeah, you can stumble with the deck, but the way you stumble is by not getting a turn 1 Virizion, which a lot of the time it just doesn't matter, because it's so easy to get that turn 1 Virizion that what you're looking for. It's not like some of the other decks, the Trevenant decks, maybe with the Blastoise decks, that really require a lot of setup. All you really need is that turn 1 Virizion. And we do see that Sean has filled his bench. He has 3 Deoxys EX, a Lugia EX, and an Absol. And we've seen Enhanced Hammer by Dustin's a huge game. Dustin's Raichu is not going to be very helpful, which is why he discarded it. But we do know that some of these Virizion players will play Driftblims, which is just purely against the Plasma deck. They do a lot of attacks based on Plasma Pokemon in play, or based on Special Energy. But Dustin has kind of chosen to tag against both, and tag against the Virizion, or the Plasma, and the Yveltal decks. And so we see the Emerald Slash from Dustin just loading up that Genesect. And Sean now has some options. I think, from what I can see, Sean's deck looks pretty standard. I assume it's just kind of a speed Lugia deck. And Sean actually gets the knockout there on that Virizion with the Absol. He used the second attack, which lets him look at Dustin's hand, which is why Dustin revealed there, rather than Dustin wasn't just trying to be a nice guy. And there's the end. And this is going to be actually pretty big for Sean. He's already taken 2 prizes, and the Pokemon that Dustin is aiming to knock out this turn is, because Dustin's already attached a Grass Energy and not a Plasma Energy, is a non-EX Pokemon. It will wipe all of the energy off Sean's board except for what's on that Thundurus, but even the knockout here is not going to be as great as it could. And there's 2 Pikachus and a Virizion on the bench for
Just
Dustin.
build his bench. He's getting ready.
Yeah, I think at that point he's just saying, hey, Pikachu might be a decent attacker here. It's certainly good versus Lugia. And there's a roller skates from Sean.
Oh man, what do you think of roller skates?
Well, Sean just drew 3 cards, so
Can't argue with that. And another roller skates. Another 3 cards.
Wait, did you get heads on that one as well?
That's what it looked like.
Wow, he just used 2 cards to draw 6 cards. That's plus 4 cards. But as to what I think of roller skates, no, I am not a big fan of that card at all.
But you can't argue with these.
Yeah, I mean, so these cards are very, very much going to be very luck based, and for every time that you do that, you play 2 and draw 6 there. You basically Juniper for free. You're going to have games where you play them and they do nothing, and you're just 0 for 1ing yourself over and over and over again. And we do see that Lugia is ready to go.
Yes, it is.
And it's going to... Wow. And there's is that turn 2? Turn 2 or turn 3 for Sean. He only needs 1 more prize. And Dustin is on the back foot here. Dustin needs to find a way to knock out this Lugia. And it's possible. It's possible with the Pikachu, especially ending Sean down to 1 here. This is exactly how Dustin can capitalize and win this game. He will need 5 Pokemon on his bench or 4 in a Muscle Band, as we talked about earlier. Go on.
Well, Dustin is just an exceptional player, so I'm sure he has a game plan in mind. He's going to pull something out.
And there's the Enhanced Hammer, which is actually going to set Sean back quite a bit as well, especially being N to 1. But yeah, it doesn't look like Dustin has the Raichu. He does have an Ultra Ball in hand, it looks like. So he may want to just try and find one now. Also not sure if Dustin's line. I assume it's 2-2. We've seen 2 Pikachu and a Raichu. So I assume it's something along those lines. And it looks like, I think what Dustin's considering here is whether he wants to attach to I think he's a DC in his hand, to a Pikachu, or just attach a Grass Energy to the Virizion. He could also attach a Plasma Energy to the Genesect and Red Signal, but I don't think that's really where you want to be. I think you need to capitalize here and kind of just hope that Sean doesn't draw anything and try and draw yourself out of this position. If I'm Dustin, I would definitely... I think I just go ahead and attach to that Virizion and go for the Emerald Slash next turn, assuming nothing goes wrong. But definitely taking his time to consider his options. And it looks like he might attach to that Pikachu, which if he can find the Raichu next turn, if he has a supporter and Ultra Ball in his hand, I think is also fine. That Virizion does have free retreat, so there's no worries about that. And I think the tension here, again, is whether Dustin wants to take the safer route, try and build up a Virizion to be able to Emerald Slash onto the Genesect with the Pikachu, or just attach the Pikachu and kind of give Sean less turns, but have less of a guaranteed win.
Looks like Dustin was freaking out for just a moment.
Yeah, looks like Dustin's, again, taking his time considering his options here. And he is choosing the Red Signal, bringing up that Deoxys, hoping to just stall. And there's an N off the top for Sean. Not really going to do much, though. It does get that dead card N out of his deck. And it does give Dustin a fresh new hand of 5 cards after he's knocked out that Absol, but I think if you're Sean here, you really just want an energy or a switch card. You want a way, and there's the switch off the top.
Wow.
You really just want a way to get that Thundurus into the active, which he has done.
Just totally reversing whatever Dustin did.
Oh, definitely. And now Sean just needs to draw a single energy, and no, Dustin just choosing to go ahead and concede game 1. So Sean Foisy will take game 1 over Dustin Zimmerman. And what do you think about that game? David, what?
Went by too quickly.
Yeah.
I was hoping to see more of a game from Dustin, unfortunately. That wasn't the case.
Unfortunately not.
But it just goes to show you, even after a perfect start from Dustin, things can go south very quickly.
For sure. I don't think there was really much that Dustin could have done there, you know. I think attaching to that Genesect isn't really what I would have done, but I think there's a fair amount of logic behind it. And I think that more than anything, Sean just got incredibly... I wouldn't even say he got incredibly lucky there. I mean, the switch off the end of 1 was pretty lucky, but besides that, I just think he his deck did what it was supposed to do at the maximum it possibly could. You know, that roller skates for 6 was obviously instrumental in making that work, and being able to fill his bench on turn 2 is huge, but we are going to get a game 2 here. Looks like Dustin's starting Lone Pikachu, which is never where you want to be.
And a mulligan.
And there's a mulligan from Sean, not really revealing anything we didn't know about. A couple of Ultra Balls and Plasma Balls and things like that. So what would you have played if you had chosen to play in this tournament, David?
Yeah, I was talking to my friends last night about this, and I mean, personally what I have built at the moment is just a Napoleon list for fun. But had I been playing competitively today, I probably would have gone with a Plasma list. Not necessarily one with roller skates, but a Plasma list nonetheless.
Would you have gone for something very similar to like the Speed Lugia lists, or more of the Karen plan, or?
Well, I've got a buddy who did build a Speed Lugia list, and he was showing me that, and I hadn't heard too much about it prior, and I think it's good, and it definitely does what it needs to, but I've definitely been one to play for the mid to late game, and with any speed deck, I tend to shy away from it for that reason.
Fair enough. We see Dustin, unfortunately, starting with that Pikachu, but he hits the Skyro Bridge, Ultra Ball for Virizion, Professor's Letter, going to go ahead and get 2 grass here, and he's in a pretty solid position now. He's, again, executing the optimal turn 1. I mean the optimal, maybe he doesn't have a Genesect in his hand, I'm not really sure the contents of his hand, but definitely pretty much where he wants to be, but no supporter. Looks like Dustin's hand is Plasma, Grass, and Enhanced Hammer. So the unfortunate thing, even though I know I just talked about how Virizion is all you need, you also do need a Genesect. Yes. So, I mean, Dustin can go ahead, attach next turn, Emerald Slash onto this Pikachu, kind of thin out his deck a little bit, get this Pikachu built up for that Lugia. There's it's a Tails. You can see Sean went to draw cards and before realizing that he had Tails on that card, unfortunately. But still, now the record throughout this game is he's spent 3 cards to draw 6, so he's still up +3.
Man.
But yeah, so the unfortunate thing for Dustin is he can build that Pikachu, he can go for that Raichu, but he really just wants a Genesect, and more than anything, too, he just wants supporters. It's going to be very difficult for him to get back into this game if he doesn't draw supporters.
And we're seeing more Deoxys fill the side of the Plasma player. That's definitely good for him against a deck with nothing but 170 or lower HP.
Definitely. And there's the DCE on Lugia on turn 1. I couldn't see the draw for Dustin. It looks like it was a level ball, which is pretty unfortunate. I can go ahead and get a Raichu or another Pikachu. Whatever Dustin wants to do. There's the Raichu, and I assume he's just going to go ahead and Emerald Slash. Dustin is setting Sean back a bit with that Enhanced Hammer. You know, it basically undoes Sean's turn in a way. And the Raichu is fully built up now, but then the top 2 or 3 cards of Dustin's deck are really going to be what determines things here, I feel like. We just see a bunch of energy along with a Colress and a Pokemon. Sorry, you see 1 energy. We see a double Colress, a Colress energy, and a Pokemon catcher in Sean's hand. And I don't think you want to spend... I don't think you really want to spend too many turns or too many resources if you're Sean. I don't think you want to play the catcher. I think the Colress here is fine because you're so far ahead, but I think you could even just not play it there and just accept that you're going to do fine. We see a Roller Skates Heads. So there's another 3 cards. And Sean, coerced himself to a kind of a low amount. He could have, had some real trouble here, but...
Yeah, that was risky.
Yeah, but he drew the roller skates, and now he has 6 cards in his hand. He also drew a colorless machine, which is definitely going to be very, very good for powering that Lugia. I'm not sure if he's going to want to play it, though. I think he might just go ahead and Raiden Knuckle, attach the DCE, attach the colorless, or attach the Plasma next turn. Just kind of save those resources for when he can attack with the Lugia. And there's a draw step, brings a Virizion for Dustin, and another Emerald Slash. And this is really not going Dustin's way. The actual, Virizion isn't the draw step that you want there, but it's better than almost every non-supporter card besides Genesect, because it does allow you to come back next turn. It does allow him to, if he does something next turn, he has that red signal fully built up. So you think you would have gone for the Plasma list if you had played this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, that's the list I feel most comfortable with. But I also think it has the most tools in order just to play flexible games. Veltal lists are probably second.
So you play the Veltal if you couldn't play this Plasma for some reason?
Correct.
And there's the Plasma Gallop by Dustin. The draw step brings him a Muscle Band. Not what he wants at all.
This is an unfortunate game.
And this could be a quick game for Dustin. Quick match, mind you, for Dustin. Both of these players are sitting at 3-0 currently, so they can afford a loss. Definitely no player wants a loss, and you can't really afford much more than one, but either of these players will be safe for day 2, assuming that they win out here. And I think if you're Dustin, you probably... So the risk you're running here if you're Dustin is whether you want to do less damage and definitely get your Raichu knocked out next turn, assuming that Sean can find a Plasma Energy, or attack with a Virizion, kind of set yourself up to be in a better position because you can then attack with Raichu next turn, but maybe just lose the game if Sean hits everything he needs. What do you think you would do here in the situation, Dave?
I'm not sure. I would fear bringing Virizion to the active, though, just because too many times have I seen a Lugia just get fully powered out of nowhere and do 170.
Definitely, and he does get to do, let's see, 20, 40, 80 here off of the attack plus the Muscle Band, so still not even one-shotting Lugia.
I mean, it's substantial, but it's definitely not enough to be in the position that Dustin's in.
Definitely, and we see that Sean does have the Plasma Energy in his hand, meaning that if he wants to knock out this turn, he's got it, and he'll go into 1 prize to Dustin 6. So it's gonna be rough.
But he's playing the safer route. I can't blame him there.
Yeah, Sean decides to go for the Thunderous EX active, double Muscle Band, both on the Thunderous and the Lugia. A Colorless Machine rather, onto the Lugia. And just really building up that Lugia to be able to take out whatever EX Dustin promotes. There's a Bicycle drawing a Rainbow Energy, it looks like. And there's the Juniper discarding 3 energy, filling that discard pile with energy for the Thunderous.
Remind them at the end of the turn that they need to return their...
And another 3 cards off of roller skates.
Another 3. So is that 3 heads, 1 tails?
I believe so. No, that actually might be 4 heads.
4 heads, 1 tails? That's got to be frustrating if you're in Dustin's seat.
I'm not a gambling man, so I never tend to play flippy cards like that. But as you can see, the payoff is worth it. He just always has cards in his hands, plenty of options every turn.
Definitely, and there's the knockout. And now Sean's putting Dustin in a position where, unless he can knock out this Lugia, it's going to be very difficult. Maybe not even possible, and Dustin just scoops. Oh, he plays an N. Sorry, I thought he was scooping it up. He's playing an N. So Luca has 80 damage on it. 15, 150 is the most Dustin can get to this turn without lasers. Do you know if Dustin plays lasers? Have we seen any of those game 1?
We've not, but granted, we have not seen much of Dustin's deck.
Yeah. I wouldn't assume that the deck plays lasers with having to fit on such a thick Raichu line. So Dustin can also try and get a Tool Scrapper here. There's a Genesect, so Dustin's attack will at least be doing something. But yeah, Sean already has all he needs to do the Plasma Gale attacking. He doesn't even need to activate Overflow. He's just going to take one single prize. So I don't... Yep, and there's a concession from Dustin. Pretty rough games there all around, but there's the handshake. Sean Foisy advances to 4-0 here at the Midwest Regional Championship.